Good morning. Welcome to Morning Java. Brought to you as always by our friends at the Get Go Cafe and Market, where Carter, they're still open. They're still serving almost everything, including, I might add, the Captain Fish Sandwich.
That's the thing. Get-Go's got all your options. They've got fish sandwich. They still got them hot dogs that I like to eat sometimes. Still got the smoothies. Get-Go is a great place to just, you know what? We're all cooking a lot right now because we're all at home. Get-Go is really fast, and it's actually good food when you eat it.
It just feels normal being there too. Like it's just
Right?
like life is still continuing, you know? Not that anybody should,
It's the oasis.
observe all the safety practices, which they're doing there and everything else, but it is there and it's open and it's safe. Let's talk about the Steelers quarterbacks, plural.
Yeah.
This is a stance I've taken since the end of last season where I am a believer, a firm believer in Mason Rudolph. I have no problem with the 4 quarterbacks that the Steelers themselves say that they will be taking to Latrobe, primarily because the only quarterback who really matters in the equation is the one who's
The starter.
Everyone know that he's fine and showing everybody that he's fine and he's going to be healthy.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is that, a lot of people, the reason we're talking about this, guys, is that a lot of people are still talking about, the Steelers need to add to their quarterback room. I mean, ideally, yeah, sure. In a perfect world, they would go get another quarterback that would be better than Mason Rudolph. But the problem is right now, they just don't have, they just don't, Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, the 2 top guys that everyone's talking about every week. You're wasting your breath. The Steelers have approximately $7-ish million in cap space, and that's before you even get to talking about signing your rookie draft class. And you're looking at still probably need to sign a couple free agents after that, because what I still see the Steelers doing is they're going to go into this draft, they're going to pick the best players they feel are fit their system right now, and then say a backup edge rusher doesn't come to them in the spot that they want, or a backup inside linebacker does the same thing, or a backup safety. That's where they go back out into free agency. All right, who's left here? Who's a veteran who can contribute now and just, hold the line at this position? And that's where they'll get those guys from that they'll bring to training camp. And Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, those are former number 1 overall picks, guys that are starters in the league and still look to be to produce at a high level. Well, I guess Jameis would be the first ever time he produced at a high level, but still, point it being, that's a lot of money that you have to do, and you tank everything else that you have just to get one of those
most
guys.
important in my eyes where those 2 are concerned is that there are teams in the National Football League that still need quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks. And that's calling out you, Los Angeles Chargers. That's just, you're not going to enter the season with Tyrod Taylor.
You're saying Tyrod Taylor can hold it down? You're saying Tyrod Taylor isn't going to do it over there? No.
The obligatory Tyrod Taylor defense from Carter. No, he will not. More important than any of that, I just happen to believe in Mason Rudolph. I saw a kid who went through a multi-fold challenge of epic proportions in 2019 and came through it with his chin up. Watching that kid on a regular basis, on and off the field, he impressed the hell out of me. I really like what I see there from him, and not just intangibles, because I can already hear people, I don't want to hear what you see in the locker room or what they say. Look at the balls that he was throwing on the field. Look at some of the passes that he was making. The pass to Deontay Johnson in his last start down the left side. Was that against the Jets? Does that sound right?
It was a pass to Deontay Johnson. I think the touchdown he threw to Juju Smith-Schuster against the Dolphins was really strong. He had moments where he was reading the field properly. Don't forget the play against I believe it was the Colts, where James Washington is running down the field and he baits their safety, Malik Hooker, to come up and then throws right over the top. He did have those moments where you're like, that's the Mason Rudolph we've been waiting to see. But the problem was that every time you started to feel that he was heading in the right direction, either something would go wrong or something would just go the other way. I mean, in the Ravens game, the Steelers were neck and neck with the Baltimore Ravens, who eventually would finish 14-2 last season. And then all of a sudden, Earl Thomas clocks Mason Rudolph. He's out before he even hits the ground. And then they put in Devin Hodges and still almost win the game. And then Mason Rudolph comes back. He's figuring himself out. They play a rough game in Cleveland where he was really bad. And he was rough through the Rams and the Colts game. But then you had Myles Garrett attack him, hit him with the helmet. and then accuse him afterwards, that will go through a young player. Just all those bumps and ups and downs. That's not something that's easy to settle on. And when you're in a quarterback position that you have to make so many decisions before you even snap the ball, that's going to impact how you're taking in the game. And I think that he does deserve a reset opportunity with the Steelers this season. And he may not even have to do it. It may just be sitting behind Ben Roethlisberger, just seeing how games go. But I agree with you that Mason Rudolph should get another shot.
No, he'll be the better for it, no question.
All right, Dayon. So I don't know if you saw, but there was a big time. It seems like we haven't learned this lesson yet. A big time running back got paid big time dollars. Christian McCaffrey getting a 4-year extension with the Carolina Panthers for $16 million a year. That's the most of any running back in NFL history, beating out Ezekiel Elliott, who just set that clip. And it makes me think, Dayon, weren't we just in the situation where the Steelers were going to break the bank to pay Le'Veon Bell, and then they didn't, and now Le'Veon Bell's with the Jets? Does it seem to you that, because you look at what happened with Todd Gurley, because Todd Gurley set the contract rate that pushed Le'Veon Bell to say he wants more money, and now he's not even with the Rams anymore. Does it seem to you like this might have been a blessing in disguise, the fact that the Steelers avoided having to pay Le'Veon Bell all that money?
No. I'm still not there. I like the McCaffrey contract, but I also consider McCaffrey to be above and beyond. I don't know that he is in NFL running back territory, normal, where he doesn't line up with the rest of the pay scale. He blows it out because of everything that he brings to the Carolina offense. Todd Gurley looked like he was going to be that player, wasn't, and then all of a sudden the narrative all switches back to, this is why you don't pay running backs. This is why you don't pay running backs. See, aha. Okay, Le'Veon Bell goes to the Jets and joins a terrible team with, no quarterback, no nothing. And he ends up, with 1.1 yards per carry or whatever. And again, the finger wagging comes. The fact is, Le'Veon actually had, if you really break it down, a pretty decent season for the Jets.
Yeah, he was not as bad as many would seem.
And I thought in particular in the game against Pittsburgh, where we saw him up close and personal, I thought he was terrific. I thought he was a handful for the Steelers, even though the Steelers' defensive front was getting the best of the New York offensive front. Le'Veon was still going through tackles, making people miss, making great reads. To me, if you're exceptional, Carter, in any sport, truly exceptional, you're going to, even in a cap league, break the curve or break the norm for what that pay scale is. I said at the time, I didn't begrudge Lev for asking to be, even though some of the wording was clumsy, on his end, where I want to be paid like a running back and a wide receiver and whatever. He knew he was special, and he knew he was special to this offense, and he was looking for that kind of dollar figure. I understand that. I respect it. The Steelers, people seem to forget this part of it, actually made an offer that was somewhere in that range. And go ahead.
Here's where I'm going with this, is that the Steelers were in a different position than the Panthers are right now. The Steelers had a solidified roster that they were knowing, like, hey, this guy is going to contribute to what we have right now and be the force of our system. The last 2 playoff wins that you got from the Steelers, the Dolphins and the Chiefs, were all on the back of Le'Veon Bell. And I mean, there were contributions here around the Chiefs. The defense did a really good job against the Chiefs. Antonio Brown went buck wild in the first quarter against the Dolphins, but Le'Veon Bell sealed both of those playoff wins for them. The Steelers had a system around Bell. The Panthers, what system do they have right now?
Well, that's not McCaffrey's fault.
It was not McCaffrey's fault, but if I'm the GM of the Panthers, do I want to pay that much for that guy? And then, when I still don't have, the quarterback situation figured out, unless Teddy Bridgewater they believe is their man. And even if that is, you still got to worry about the defense. The defense isn't at a top level.
No, there's no question about it. I still – we can debate whether or not Carolina should have signed him. That to me is a different discussion. But the money that he got, perfectly fine. He's that level of player.
And it'll be interesting to see if that money goes up now, because Saquon Barkley's going to be coming up soon, and I think that he could command even more money than that.
Joe Burrow, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick in this draft. There's no suspense there. Confident young man, huh, Carter?
Absolutely. I mean, and you got to love his swagger. You know, the picture of him after he won the national championship game in his LSU uniform, just sitting on a couch, smoking a stogie. And he looks so cool. He's smooth. And with LSU, he was always fired up. He was still that leader. He was still charismatic. Absolutely love that about him. But he continued that day on with an interesting statement that leaked out. It floated all over the internet, saying that, you know, since he's been playing football when he was a kid, he's never had a losing season. And I tweeted out, that's the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object, because he's going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals, who are known for having losing seasons. But do you think that, you know, because everyone was talking about, you know, this is a coming quarterback age of the AFC North. You've got Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, who was an MVP this year. You've got Baker Mayfield, who I still think is overrated. But Joe Burrow, with the performance that he put on this past year with LSU, could he be the guy that flips it around for the Bengals? You know, Carson Palmer almost did that for them. They just couldn't get over the hump with him.
No, I mean, I don't know that's – I mean, Palmer definitely flipped the script in Cincinnati. I mean, that's just because they didn't win at all. What Palmer was able to do there with, you know, all those receivers that he had and good running backs, Cincinnati had a wonderful offense when Carson was there. I mean, everybody still blames Chemo for, you know, all of that going undone.
Don't remind me. The Locked On Bengals guys, they're still mad about that.
They will never let that one go in Cincinnati, because Carson was that guy. I look at the Bengals situation, and I see a kid who's coming in and brash and, you know, everything else here, and it reminds me a little bit of the Baker Mayfield, and even before him, you know, Johnny Manziel, where everyone thinks that this big fired up kid, this is what we need to change our fortunes. This is, you know, somebody who believes in, somebody who's been a winner. Guess what, Joe Burrow? Almost every first round pick in the National Football League at every single level of the game that they have played have had nothing but winning seasons.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the sport. When you have a dominant athlete on your side, and in high school they play both ways, so they have twice the impact. That's not a novelty.
The quarterback that he beat in the national championship game, Trevor Lawrence, has lost all of 2 games since he's been a quarterback in high school. Yeah. It's a phenomenon that happens a lot with super athletes. But with Burrow coming to Cincinnati, Zach Taylor's going to get his quarterback that he can mold, and he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer, because that's what he did with Sean McVay. Mm-hmm. But I'm still not sold that this is going to solve everything.
Well, you know, if the Bengals, the most encouraging news that the Bengals have aside from all that is that A.J. Green's finally making the recovery that they hope. Tyler Boyd took a step up in his absence last season. I felt that Cincinnati badly underplayed and underutilized Tyler before that, and I'm not just saying that because I know him and like him and Clareton and all that other stuff. Okay, Tyler Boyd is a real talent. I don't know how real durable he'll be over the course of his NFL career, but he's been that so far while being underutilized. The Bengals are going to be better, but I think they're going to be better in the same sense as what we saw with Cleveland and Baker Mayfield, where they have the occasional flash and dash and they jump around and everyone goes, they're back, and then they're not. To me, if the script is about the AFC and quarterbacks, and Lamar Jackson is a legit most valuable player in the National Football League, if I'm entering a season, the 2020 season, and I'm picking one quarterback out of these 4, I'm taking Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, you have to. I agree with you. I agree with you there. Ben Roethlisberger's still the guy. He's still the franchise quarterback. He's the best. He's going to be the best processor on the field. Lamar Jackson, if he continues his upswing, he's the better long-term option right now because he has a long-term. Ben has 2 years, maybe 3 years at best. But yeah, I think Ben Roethlisberger still sets the Steelers apart. I just think it's interesting that people assume because there's all these these first-round quarterbacks coming into all these other teams that it's going to solve all their problems. Baker Mayfield still has not solved any problems in Cleveland, and I'm interested to see how they continue to do here. But Joe Burrow going to the Bengals, that's at least, maybe there's a different environment that gets set up there. Zach Taylor just got there this past year, so we'll see if he can actually flip a script there. I like Lamar Jackson. I think that he's going to bring a good level of play for the Ravens for the next however many years he's with them. But Joe Burrow, I guess the way that he processed the field, the way he broke down plays and then stuck with plays while he was under pressure, things weren't always just easy for him. It's very interesting to me. But I've seen this before with quarterbacks in college football. You get one really hot year, and then you go to the NFL, and then it doesn't always translate right away. It'll be interesting to see how he rises to those challenges at the next level.
And just to cap my point here about Ben versus Lamar for one season, what Mike Vrabel and the Titans did to Lamar Jackson in a playoff game, they could not have done to Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, I agree. Lamar Jackson still went off in that game.
He did, but he had one touchdown and 2 picks.
Right, but and that was the thing, was that the rest of the Ravens, he couldn't do anything with the rest of his team.
Right, and that's where Ben Roethlisberger is separated.
Yeah, and I agree. You saw even in the Jaguars game where he did cough up a bunch of turnovers, they still put up like 45 points.